Hello and welcome to another How to Code Well web chat. My name is Peter Fisher, and in today's web chat we're going to talk about when it might be worth thinking about moving on in your web development career. Now I'm going to draw on some experiences that I've had when I was a full-time web developer, as well as some experiences that I've had as a freelancer. Now this is a very subjective talk, I appreciate that, and it's going to be very different for different people in different circumstances. However, what I've done is I've constructed three very generic indicators that I've used previously in both my freelance and full-time development career as to when I think it's time to move on, mostly in my full-time development, to be honest. And I'll talk about freelance a little bit because the context is different, and it needs to be appreciated that the context is very different in the career that you're in. Okay, so the three indicators that I've got then are these three. So when you feel that you are at the top of your game, and what does that mean? Well, when you're at the top of your game, it means that you in your current environment cannot progress any further in the skills that you currently have. So that's the first one. The second one is the lack of skill progression. So it kind of feeds into the first one. So that's where you're stunted and you cannot progress in the skills. There is no further expansion on offer. And the third one is the lack of experience, which is on offer as well. So I'm going to talk about each one of these individually. So the first one is when you feel that you are on the top of your game, and this you need to measure in a duration. So you need to work out when you first started feeling like this and how long it's gone for. Because I mean, this is a good thing, right? When you feel that you are on the top of your game, that is a very, very good thing, especially as a freelancer. If this is where you are at as a freelancer, this is very, very good. It's down to you to then progress and get the clients that can become aware that you are at the top of your game, and you work with them to improve the services and the stuff that they do. That's a very good thing. It's very different though when you're full-time employed, because if you just feel that you're on the top of your game but you want to keep pushing and progressing, and that's not available to you, then that becomes a feeling of very stunted. If, for example, the company you're working for relies solely on you to do a certain thing or have a certain knowledge at a certain level to perhaps a certain programming language or framework or web service, it could be anything like AWS perhaps, and they just use you, and that is and you are the go-to person, and it's always been like that for a very long time, and you want to move on and progress, and you can't do that because the company that you're in restricts that because it's not available to you, then that becomes an issue. You start feeling like you are part of the furniture. You're just a foundation stone to the company, and that becomes an issue if you're not rewarded for that feeling of need. Okay, because anybody can come along and write some code. That's a given, right? But if you are the person, the go-to person all the time to set servers up, to write certain pieces of code and script, to talk to about performance issues, scalability issues, security issues, and you aren't being rewarded for that, and that has happened for a good 6 months, a year plus, then that becomes an issue, in my opinion. And I mean, like I said, it's very different when you're a freelancer, because when you're a freelancer, that is brilliant. If you're always at the top of your game, then that is fantastic. And believe you me, you're not always going to be at the top of your game. But if it's down to you as a freelancer to develop your skills and improve yourself and improve the services that you offer and the experiences that you offer, it's down to you. Whereas when you're full-time employed, it's part of a negotiation between you and the company that you're working for to see if your skills can enhance. And it doesn't have to sound as drastic as perhaps I'm making out. It could be just as simple as moving from one department to another department, or just having some eyes on a certain different departments' roles, for example. And this moves on to the second one, where it's lack of skill progression. So if all you've done is write HTML and write WordPress stuff, perhaps, and that's all you know, and you want to progress into something slightly more advanced, maybe you want to move into some databases, maybe you want to move into some server administration type stuff. If the company that you're working for doesn't allow you to do that, or you ask them and negotiate with them with what they can offer you to gain those skills, if they can't help you, then that becomes an issue. Again, if you're a freelancer, it's very different, because you need to go and find those skills yourself. It's down to you. You certainly can't go to your client and say, oh, I want to do X and Y and Z and stuff like that, because that's not down to them. That's down to you. You need to put your own time aside to learn those skills in your own time. Go on those courses in your own time. However, when you're in a company, you can perhaps research the courses that maybe you would be interested to go on, and talk to your employer about those courses, and hopefully maybe they'll be able to put you on those courses, or at least give you some time to learn about those things, as long as you can show that those new skills that you'll acquire can be used within the company, and that's very important. The third thing that I want to talk about is the lack of experience. Now, this is an interesting topic, I find, because the experience changes depending on the company that you're in, and it depends on where the company is. So, for example, if you've just been developing a load of code for the past year and a half that isn't being used in anger by clients, then you aren't gaining the experience of issues that come up with high traffic websites. So, for example, scalability issues, security issues, performance issues, race conditions, all of those things that you're not experiencing, those challenges that you're not experiencing. If it is just, we have a very small finite amount of customers and that is never going to expand, or if the company is trying to expand and move on, but that's not actually happening, then that to me is an indicator that perhaps it might be time to move on. The thing is that when you do move on, you need to sell yourself in a way that your future employer will find attractive. And if you can't say that you've worked on high traffic websites, if you can't say that you haven't worked on race conditions and security issues and stuff like that, then you don't have those experiences at hand. So, I mean, for me, it really is about not just the code. It's also about how the code is used. So, and you don't get that from just perhaps reading a book. You get that from actually experiencing how the customer is actually interacting with the software that you write. And if there isn't enough of those customers coming through your company's doors, then that can become an issue. Now, how do you measure these three indicators? Well, usually what I do, or what I've done before, especially when I was full-time employed, is I had a chart it was a triangle, and the triangle's broken up into 3 or 4 sections, and each section in a horizontal grouping was in each section was things that I wanted to acquire, knowledge that I wanted to acquire within a certain time frame. So the large chunk at the bottom of the triangle was the things that I could acquire quite quickly within, say, a year's time. The stuff in the middle was more to do with what I want to acquire in, say, 3 or 5 years' time. And the stuff at the top, in the small portion at the cone of the triangle was what I wish to achieve in, say, 10 or 15 years time. The time can be changed depending on what you want to do, and you can use this for all sorts of things. It doesn't necessarily need to be your career. It could also be just your lifestyle, just your life. If there's things that you want to achieve in your life within a certain time frame, then that would be great. And what you try and do is the stuff that you put in the first block in at the bottom, what you want to achieve in the first year, is very achievable. You can see yourself achieving those things. The stuff that you put right at the top is less achievable. You cannot achieve that within 1 year. But in order to get to that point, you need to go through those steps. And what I do is I look at these 3 indicators and see where I am. So for example, if I wanted to learn a particular language or a particular skill when I was full-time employed in the first year, and I haven't been able to do so, then I am not progressing in that diagram. That is not how my web development career is moving forward. There's lots of other ways you can do this, but this is work for me. Perhaps it's going to work for you, I don't know. If you have any comments or questions, if you think that this is completely wrong and you've got your own way of looking at your career and analysing your career, then do let me know. Put them in the comment section below. I'd be great to hear from you and see how you guys do it. As I said, take this in the context that you're in, because this is very subjective to how I've had my career. So don't use this as gospel, but certainly analyze where you are and where you wish to go in the future, and see if the road that you're on currently is heading in that direction. Believe you me, I've had some experiences where the grass wasn't greener on the other side. Some interviews that I've had where I've come back thinking, oh God, I do not want to work there, so and then you come away appreciating more the company that you're in, because you've had that sort of insight with what they do compared to what you do, and what you think at the time is really bad and bad for your career progression is actually not so bad at all. You're just having a bad day. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any comments, questions, or queries, bung them down in the comment section below. Be great to hear from you. If you found this video helpful, do give it a thumbs up, share it around if you think others might do so as well. Subscribe to get the next web chats, as well as the web development tutorials that I've been pushing out every week. Thanks again for watching, and I shall see you again next time. Thank you. Bye.